4 years I've owned this Zonda now, and we was doing more of these sort of videos on our long-termers. I thought it's high time we did one on this car. It's been one of probably the most famous long-termer we ever had on Evo. And I feel the Zonda and Evo have sort of grown up together, because we first saw this car at Geneva '99, and we'd started Evo in October '98, so it was our first Geneva show. We wandered into the show and just discovered Pagani, and we just couldn't believe this car. The first time we saw it, and the magic ingredients, we couldn't understand how this car came from nowhere. And as we've watched the progression of Pagani, we all know we're now with Zonda R and Cinque. It's just been the most amazing 10, 11 years of progression, and he's really brought this company right to the fore and competes with the really big boys. But I still, you know, I've owned this car now for 4 years, and I can hardly believe I still can say, oh yeah, I've got a Pagani Zonda in the garage, because it is just the most extraordinary car. And this car is quite a well-known car. If you read car magazines and you enjoy some of the TV programs, you'll seen this car quite a lot, because it was actually the original press car, and it was registered in May 2002. And immediately, the first thing it ever did was to go to Autocar, and our own Chris Harris actually did the figures and the road test on it. And there were 286 miles on the clock. They figured this thing, and it did 3.7 to 60 and 7.4 to 100. And then they ran out of track. They did it down at Millbrook, and you've only got the miles straight, and it got to a maximum of 150 miles an hour in 16 seconds dead. It's extraordinary sort of figures for a two-wheel drive car. And the thing is, now this car has actually had quite a few modifications on it, and I'll go through them, but it's even quicker now in this current state than it was when Autocar tested it back then. And to explain the car itself, he started out with a basic car called the C12, which was a 6-litre Zonda. That was the one he showed at Geneva. And there was a progression to a C12S, which went up the size of the engine to 7-litre. And then in 2002, he launched this car, which is the 7.3-litre Zonda C12S. And this is the second car ever built. And it was built, as I say, in May 2002. It's dead easy to open this thing up. There's 2 straps either side. Press the button, and up she goes, a giant clamshell. I have no idea the cost of that clamshell, but it's a lot. Really marks out what Horacio was so good at carbon fibre, because he was the first one who came up with this super gloss finish to the carbon fibre. And no one, if you look under an Enzo or something like that, it's not finished like this at all. And that's how he set up the business, and it's just everywhere in this car. The whole car is obviously made from carbon fibre, but the heart of it is obviously the engine. And why this is the model I just had to have is because it's got the 7.3-litre AMG engine. And there was, as I say, the very first one was a 6-litre. It had 450 horsepower, and then the option of the S was 7-litre. But it didn't actually rev very high. It was maximum power at about 5,500 RPM, and it had a rev limit of 6,000. When they introduced the 7.3, we had a steel crankshaft and titanium conrods, and suddenly the rev limit was 7,000. And this is the basis of all future Zondas. So the Zonda F has the same engine, but it was with a different inlet manifold. And then the Zonda Cinque now is the same engine as this. So this is the super high power. This is the cream of all the engines in the road-going Zondas, and this is the second car that was ever fitted with this engine. Other things to look under here: there's 2 storage bins either side, which is for the luggage, which you have to be very careful with, because the trouble is they're right by the engines and they get super hot. And I put a sponge bag in there once, and everything just exploded: toothpaste, shampoo, everything. So you watch what you put in those. Looking around the actual mechanicals at the back, magnesium suspension arms on both corners. They've been there since the beginning. This is actually uprated the Zonda F suspension, so it's different. The shockers and the spring ratings are all Zonda F on this. Titanium exhaust at the back, the race exhaust. This is the air intake coming here that sucks off the bonnet. You'll see when we close down, you'll see 2 intakes up here. That's how the engine breathes. The very early ones breathed from underneath, and then he moved it to up top like this. And obviously right now we've got the Cinque, which actually breathes through a snorkel, is the ultimate one. but then you lose the rear window and everything. But this works really well. Enormous great tyres, 345 30 ZR by 19s. Original S had 18-inch wheels. We had to upgrade to a bigger wheel so we could actually get the bigger brakes in. That was the other bit I spent the money on. £9,500 for the wheels. So I don't know. I don't want to know what it all adds up to, but it's all been well worth it. I keep telling myself. Okay, there's some more secrets under here. Again, the magnesium wishbones on show in gold. Radiators, as you can see. Oil cooler at the front and air conditioning. You just look in here and the mirror finish on all the carbon fibre that's just hidden away. It's all here just the same. Round the radiators is all mirror. Okay, one of the fun things you get with Zonda is of course the fitted luggage, and there's a bit of a story behind the fitted luggage on this car. You get a suitcase in here like that with carbon fibre trim. Under this, in the seat here, I don't know if you can see it, you get a suit bag that clips over the seat. It's really useful. And then you get a little sort of handbaggy thing like this that I don't use very often, but I'm sure it's very useful. But the fun story behind all this luggage was the car went off to do a Nürburgring lap with Sport Auto in Germany in 2002, and they did a time of 7:44 around the ring at the first attempt. And Ashley's always kicking himself because he left all this luggage in it, and he could have got rid of the weight, but so all this luggage has actually done a 7:44 lap round the Nürburgring. Little glove box up here. You see lots of people trying to undo the buckle. It's not like that. You just clip it underneath and it comes out like that. There's the manuals for the Zonda and maintenance schedule. All sorts of things in here, just like a normal manual you'd imagine to get. Page 40 is one of my favourite pages though, because we get to it, here we are, page 40, and 3.9 is winter tyres and snow chains, which I just can't imagine what on earth they've done this testing for, but they have. And you only use Koenig Rally snow chains or equivalent, and they can be mounted on the rear wheels apparently. Snow chains, with snow chains on, the speed limit will reduce to 25 miles an hour. So if you ever see a Zonda on snow chains, just check he's got the Koenig Rally 118s on. Anyway, what else have we got in here? There's a little in here, a little escape thing for when the electric windows fail. You've got a manual winder. No one has ever had to use it, but if the batteries go flat, I suppose you might have to do that. Under here, actually, it's quite tricky to see, is a fuse box. That's where the fuse box is. In fact, we'll show it later, but it's the only fuse box I know that's in carbon fibre. If you look at the carpets, there aren't any in this particular car. I've got them in the back, but it's all a bit beige, this car. And one thing I'd love to do is actually just some way of exposing the carbon floor. So at the moment I've just taken them out, and Arashi is not very impressed. He's got little bits of tape showing and stuff like that, but I don't really mind. We'll go through the dash layout. I've had starter button added to the gearbox because I'm a bit of a tart, and it's all on the later cars. Normal climate control, Becker Traffic Pro standard. All Zondas came with sat nav, and so there's sat nav built into that, and a CD change in the back. The radio is absolutely crap because the car's carbon fibre and the aerial doesn't work, and lots of owners complain, and Arashi just throws his hands up and says listen to the engine instead, so don't worry about that. What else is there in here? These are the famous vents that work actually extremely well, because the funny thing about a Zonda is it's very glassy, it's very airy in here, and I always worried with the glass roof that it would get really hot, but the air conditioning is well up to it, and it's no problem to get it down to 19 degrees in here as you're cruising through Europe, as we've done quite a few times. Over on this side, got a very simple little layout for the instruments. In actual fact, they're actually one of the things I don't really like about the car. They're so tiny, you can hardly see the increments on it. If you go from 0, 70 is there, so it's only about, what's that, 20-30 degrees of the dial all the way around to 250 miles an hour, where the actual important bit I could do with a sort of digital readout or something like that, but it's a minor moan really. What else have we got? Clock adjustment. This little button on the dash is for raising the suspension at the front to go over speed humps and things. One of the first things I asked on Arashi to fix was that button so the suspension would rise. And he says, no, I fit the switch in all the cars. It doesn't mean you've actually got the rise in suspension £34,000 piece or something, and I said no, I'll leave it as it is then. I'll just have to switch. The wheel's super adjustable, comes right out, you know, in rally position if you feel like it, but obviously I find this a really perfect setup. Down at the pedals though, they're really special. They're floor hinged, but they're super adjustable. You can just adjust the actual piece your foot's pressing against just perfectly, do heel and toe changes. And they're really smooth progressive pedals. It's one of the hardest things to get right, but it's fantastic on this car, the progression of the accelerator and stuff like that. But it's fairly simple to start. You use a key like you do on most cars. Very simple little key, but typically with Horatio he had to put the logo on it. In there, fire everything up, hear the fuel pumps charge up, lights on, and then press the clutch and press the starter.